About 5 years ago, I was in the Air Cadets, a UK organization affiliated with the RAF. My squadron was, and is, based in the Sergeant's Mess at IWM Duxford, a former RAF station, now a vast air museum. On this particular occasion, it was a summer evening and dusk was settling in. I was in charge of a camouflage exercise that involved the cadets using camouflage to hide and me trying to spot them. I was walking past several World War II-era buildings when I saw two figures in the distance walking towards me. As I got closer, I saw that the two figures were U.S. Air Force officers, not an uncommon sight. We're not far from RAF Lakenheath, a USAF base. Maybe they're visiting. As I got closer, I realized they were wearing an outdated uniform and had flying equipment that was extremely old with them. Still not thinking much of it, I saluted them as I walked past, as is customary. They didn't acknowledge the salute or say anything. I walked off feeling a little uneasy. Later that night, as the exercise wrapped up, I remembered the incident and asked my commanding officer who the two officers were. I got a very odd look and, "Corporal, we haven't had any visitors tonight." Concerned somebody may have broken in, security made a site-wide search but couldn't find anything. They then quizzed me, and when I described the airmen I had seen, a grim look came over their faces. They proceeded to let me know this wasn't the first time they'd been seen. Back in 1944, a B-17 Flying Fortress visited the airfield and took some personnel on a joyride. The aircraft collided with a navigation mast at low altitude and smashed into an accommodation building, exploding on impact and killing all aboard, plus one man in the barracks block. The building was located right next to where I had been walking. Furthermore, the men I described, they were the pilot and the navigator. They've been seen a few times over the years, often by security making patrols at night. I've always felt like I'm being watched when passing that spot. My ex-husband and I share a daughter together and got divorced about 6 years ago. We had a good co-parenting relationship and didn't have any issues between us. I have since remarried and have another little girl. My ex-husband passed away of cancer 2 months ago. I'm taking this extremely hard and am experiencing grief wholeheartedly. About 2 weeks ago, I had a dream about my ex-husband. He had already passed away, but he came back to take care of everything. He died without a will or anything. In the dream, we were back together, and I was sitting on his lap telling him about his girlfriend cleaning out his bank account once he died. This really happened. I can still hear it as clear as day. He said, "My name, don't worry about it, it's not worth it." Then I woke up. I laid in bed for a minute and kind of said in my head, "If you're okay, just show me a sign." I later got in my car to go to the store, and our wedding song, "My Best Friend" by Tim McGraw, came on the radio. Since this dream happened, every night he has been in my dreams. It hasn't been anything as vivid as the first dream, but he's always there. He always looks healthy and the way he did while we were married, but it's never direct contact. He's just there. I never got to say goodbye to him or talk to him before he passed. At the time, I didn't think I really needed to, but now that he's gone, it hurts so much that I didn't get to say goodbye. Does anyone have any insights as to why he's been coming to all of my dreams? It's not even like in my dream he's worried about our daughter. It's like he's there for me. What could this mean? I don't even know if this is the right place to ask about meaning or omens and that kind of thing. I'm sorry if this comes out full of typos or in a mess. But I have Googled, and all I could find were questions such as, "Dreaming your teeth are falling out, so any help is appreciated. I'm a little freaked out, honestly." I have 1 dog and 3 teenage boys. These teeth do not belong to any of them. Background. Around 1 month ago, I found a tooth in my dog's basket. This wouldn't have been a big deal, except my dog is very old and has no teeth. He had to have the last few removed about 3 years ago before we moved into this home. I'm just explaining this so you understand there's no way this could be a dog's tooth. Anyway, the tooth is flat and has no root, like a small child's. I thought maybe it could have been a pebble that just really looked like a tooth, so I checked with the husband, who agreed, nope, that's a tooth. So grossed out but not really too fazed, I threw it in the bin and figured it was just a freaky one-off thing. 3 weeks ago, I was walking through my lounge and stood on something. It was a tooth. I was freaked out, but thought, well, maybe it's the same one and somehow fell out of the rubbish bin when we took the bag outside. This time I put it on the bookcase next to me and left it. A bit creeped out again. It could have been the same tooth, right? 2 weeks ago, there is a damn tooth on the bathroom floor. This one I know is not the same tooth. It's bigger, like a molar. I take it out and put it next to the other. I freak out at this point. I want to add I have a robo-vac that runs every couple of days and a stick vacuum I use in the kitchen and dining area. My house is pretty clean. We don't wear shoes inside. I just don't want you all thinking I live in a hovel. So 20 minutes ago, I'm bringing in my towels. I'm in Australia and we line dry most things, especially here in the tropics. I bring them inside, and as I'm shaking them out to fold, I hear a click of something falling onto the wood floor. It's a damn tooth. I am officially freaked out. Our home backs into the bush and mountain ranges. I'm reaching a bit, but maybe they're animal teeth picked up by birds and dropped on the clothes. Maybe I'm bringing them in unknowingly with the washing. I've seen crow and kookaburra both sit on the clothesline eating small things like snakes or field mice, but these teeth are big and they seem so human. But after this last one, I really feel like it's a message or something, maybe a warning. That probably sounds crazy, but I've had a few weird experiences in my life, so I don't rule anything out. My kids are all late teens and way past losing their baby teeth. I also have not kept their teeth. I know some people do, but honestly, teeth are gross, and here the tooth fairy would wrap them in tissues and take them with her to the castle, aka the bin. All 3 are pretty normal kids, enjoy spending time with friends, gaming, work, etc. I'm pretty sure I'm not homing budding Ted Bundys. My husband also works from home, so pretty sure he's safe too. My dog is an inside dog. He's deaf and part blind with no teeth. I take him out to toilet and then he comes right back in. He is a tiny dog and is not getting into any roadkill, etc. What the fuck do I do? Am I overthinking this? I want to go with the bird dropping teeth on my washing, but where the fuck are these teeth coming from? If anyone can DM me how to add a picture, I'll pop up a pic of the teeth. It's possibly irrelevant, but I also had 3 chickens die just after the second tooth, all one day after the other. I was honestly debating whether to post this story or not, but here it is. I've been an orphan my entire life, so I spent 15 years in and out of orphanages from birth, but up until the age of 9, I was transferred to this particular orphanage. As soon as I stepped inside, it just felt wrong. The air was heavy, and the vibe was just very dark and eerie overall, especially the basement of the orphanage. Me and 9 other girls shared a room of bunk beds, and a lot of the girls there would get the same reoccurring dream. They opened their eyes, and standing at one end of a darkened hallway, you could see the outline of a black figure just standing there. It would step closer and closer every few seconds until eventually you would spring awake. The figure was just a pure black silhouette wearing a hat with glowing red eyes. It was physical. It pulled girls off their bunks, scratched them, tormented them, pushed them, levitated them, threw them, and the list goes on and on. I actually got really close to two of these girls. We'll call them A and B. Me and B found a really old Ouija board that looked at least 80 to 90 years old, so we told C that night we went down to the basement, which was littered with old dolls and toys. It was 3:01 a.m., and me, B, and C went to the basement and asked a lot of questions, but the only answers we got were "kill you" and "poison leaf" over and over again. Me, B, and C left the basement, and the very next day we were all talking, and C starts foaming at the mouth and dies on the way to the hospital. Me and B looked at each other in fear and connected the dots to the Ouija board session and realized what happened. At this point, we get freaked out and we go to the basement to burn this board when at the bottom of the stairs we both see a black figure with a hat and red glowing eyes, and the door slammed so hard it echoed downstairs. Me and B got jobs at 14 and kept in close contact when I got adopted by a nice lesbian couple who happened to be firm believers in the paranormal. After 2 years, I told them about what happened in the orphanage, and they told me that it was an entity called the Shadow Man. This was about 2 weeks after my 19th birthday. I got a call from B telling me that the orphanage was closed down and 2 other girls we used to live with died, so I reluctantly agreed to go back to the orphanage to see it one last time, and as soon as I stepped inside, I got that same heavy feeling. As we kept walking towards the basement, I felt more and more uneasy, and when we walked into the basement, which now only had creepy dolls, we found a pentagram on the floor that looked like it had been there for a long time, so we bolted, and I've never been back since. First of all, sorry for my English. It is not my first language. My grandpa died when I was 9 years old, and my brother was just months old. My grandpa was a kind person who always cared about us. When he died, I felt my world was going to break in pieces because I spent a lot of time with him, but my brother doesn't remember so much of him. Well, here is the story. When I was 11 years old, I usually was alone in the house with my little brother while my parents were working, and I was always checking if my brother was okay. At the time, we had a German Shepherd, and I always remember my dog barking to the wall, and I didn't understand why, but the curious thing is that my little brother, who was 2 years old, was looking to that wall too while he was laughing. That was very creepy for me as a kid, but when I told my parents, they told me not to worry about it because it was just a kid and a dog. Months later, my mom went for a walk with my brother while I stayed in the house playing Wii. Then I heard my dog barking so loud, and I went to check it out. My dog was in my parents' room, and the TV suddenly turned on to an Arab channel. I felt that I was going to have a panic attack, so I wanted to take the dog out of the room and call my mother. I saw a black shadow on the wall that disappeared so fast. Then I actually was having a panic attack, so I run to take the phone and I called my mother, but she never answers the phone, so I called my grandma, who was the wife of my grandpa, and she arrived in 10 minutes. My grandma always told me that she has powers to improve the health of others, which is 100% true because she always helped me when medicine was not working for me. I was a very sick girl when I was a kid because of a disease. When she arrived, she saw the TV on an Arab channel, and she told me my grandpa always liked to watch Arab channels, although he didn't understand anything. I was very scared, but she told me not to worry about it because my grandpa was caring for me. In that moment, I didn't give a fuck because I was terrified of the shadow, but I never tried to be alone in my house again. Different things happened about my grandpa's ghost. A few years ago, my mother told me when I arrived at the house that she was smelling the perfume of my grandpa, and all windows were closed, and things like that, and about the Arab Channel. It happened a lot of times, but I was not scared as much as a kid. Well, to confirm this, when my brother was older and he could talk, he told me that he saw our grandpa in our house, and I was like, "What? But you didn't see him, and we don't have many pictures of our childhood." And he told me, "Yes, I know, but I have a picture with him when I was a baby, and I remember him walking around the house, and he is the same man." Right now I see this like a little creepy story, but it doesn't scare me when it happens because I want to think that it is my grandpa caring for us. So I'm going to tell two stories that didn't happen to me but were told firsthand by some trustable and old people I love. Sorry if you find any English mistakes. The first one is about a dream my friend's dad had when he was a teenager. He used to live in a rural area, and one night he dreamed about a mysterious black guy who asked him if he wanted to find some gold. He said yes, and the guy guided him through the woods and farms around, and he came to realize it was real places, the surroundings of his small town and family farm. The guy then stopped and pointed to a place in the ground and told him he should dig there. He suddenly woke up, feeling kind of weird because of the dream. He says that in the same day, after lunch, he walked the same path the guy had done in the dream and could find the exact place. He used his hands to dig the dirt, only to find a really old golden spoon, and that left him shocked. After showing the spoon and telling the story to his dad realized really fast what was going on. Here in Brazil, just like in the USA, indigenous people and Africans were made slaves for a very long time. So his dad said that probably an African slave somehow managed to get the spoon from the house he used to work in and hide it to retrieve it later, maybe after getting freedom and sell it to make some money. But this probably never happened, and that man's spirit, or maybe an angel of some kind, decided it was time for the spoon to move on and revealed its position in the dream. I think that's a good theory. Second story. My uncle has a little farm of babosas. I don't know the English name of it, but it's a weird plant that expels a mucus that is used on beauty products, and other vegetables. Told me a fun story about his farm. He said he had a place there that almost looked like a comet had fallen and made a crater. The place was rocky, and he always thought it was barren because of that. He always rejected it. Then he said he was living through a financial crisis and religiously asked for help, and one night he dreamed about a comet falling in that very place. But he says the comet was almost like a bright and living star, something good. He felt good dreaming about it. He spoke with his wife and decided to plant something there. What happened is that the place is now the most fertile and lucrative he could have ever imagined. Sorry, this is kind of long. I just wanted to share a few experiences with shadow people that I've encountered over the years and ask if other people have experienced this. Okay, so first experience happened when I was about 14. I woke up at about 3:30-ish a.m. I know that because I first looked at my alarm clock and thought, yes, I can go back to sleep for a while before school. And then I looked at my doorway, which was situated about 10 feet almost directly in front of my bed, where I saw a truly enormous man wearing a top hat, and he seemed to be made entirely of shadow. He didn't seem to have any discernible face or features I could make out, only that he definitely had a top hat and he seemed to be wearing a coat. His size was staggering. He took up the entire doorway. He was as tall as my doorway, was long and nearly the same width as well. I stared at him for a few seconds and he didn't make any movement whatsoever. I remember thinking, I must be way tired 'cause I'm hallucinating, and I laid back down and fell asleep. This first shadow person experience is different from the other ones because it turns out I wasn't the only one he was watching. The next day, my little sister, age 10 at this time, told me she had had a bad dream that seemed real. I asked her for more details, and she said, "A huge shadow man in a top hat came and stood in my doorway last night." She said she didn't really think it was a dream because she had been so terrified that she sat straight up in bed and tried to scream, but no sound would come out, so she just laid back down in bed. And the weirdest part, my mom hears us talking about this. My mom was and still is extremely religious and does not like to talk about or think about or watch anything scary or horror-related. But my mom comes in the middle of our conversation and says, "You both saw a shadow man? Was he wearing a top hat?" We both basically had our jaws dropped at that point and said, "Yes, indeed he was," and she said, "He's been standing in my doorway the last 3 nights." Needless to say, the entire family was terrified, but luckily he never came back after that. The second experience. I was 19, staying the night in a run-down, tiny, small-town motel because my roomie and I got kicked out of our apartment for the night by management for having boys over too late. Anyways, all 4 of us are in this dingy little room, splitting the 2 beds. I'm laying next to my boyfriend at the time. It's pretty dark in the room as we're all trying to sleep when I open my eyes and see a tall, cloaked shadow something standing a foot from my face. I say shadow something because it had the form of a human except for the head was a cube, literally a cube, like a human figure with an old box-style TV as a face. Once again, there were no discernible features. I stared at it for a while, scared to death, and then asked my boyfriend to switch sides of the bed with me, and I fell asleep. Third experience. This one is different because I didn't actually see it this time, but my almost 5-year-old daughter did. So this morning, about 4 a.m., we're laying in bed and I'm trying to make her go back to sleep because it's too damn early to be awake. We hadn't been watching scary shows or talking about ghosts or anything. It was totally peaceful, groggy morning vibes. Out of nowhere, she says, "Mom, do you see that shadow?" I said, "What do you mean? Like how dark the closet looks right now or something?" She said, "No, he's standing in front of the closet." Instantly, my heart starts racing, but obviously I've got to play it cool here because I'm the mom and I don't want to freak out my daughter over her having an overactive imagination. I asked, "What does it look like?" She answered me while staring directly at the blank space in front of the closet. "He's tall, his arms and legs are so long and skinny, and Mom, he doesn't have a head. I don't like that he doesn't have a head, Mom. It's freaking me out." And with that, I ran to turn the lights on, and she said, "Oh, thank goodness he's gone now." Anyways, I just wanted to write these down because I've thought about these first 2 experiences a lot over the years. I've always prayed I'd never see them again. Anyone else been visited by the shadows? Some time ago, I had already shared here the strange nightmares about a woman with green eyes that eventually intermingle with situations that occurred in reality. I did it for the purpose of advice. Now I write again on the subject because another strange event related to this figure has happened again. During this time, the dreams seemed to subside and my life continued to function properly as usual. But just over a week ago, this corpse-like, green-eyed woman showed up again, even more forcefully, in another nightmare that I had not experienced before. This was, again, the isolated and foggy landscape of the fields outside my city, but with the difference that this time there was no barn, no tractor, and no familiar people, just the same old fog and a whisper accompanied by a profuse hustle and bustle of traffic. In this way, I moved between the crops to a road where cars were circulating. I watched, and suddenly the woman appeared as she always does, but on the other side and across the new highway, on all fours. This time, all the cars that were passing at that time collided. I woke up. One day after this, a 3-vehicle accident occurred on the outskirts of town. Out of curiosity, I visited the place with my classmates 3 days after the event, on the bike rides we usually take around the outskirts. The place was exactly the same as in my dream. Hello. Pardon my English. It's not my first language. Since 2 months ago, weird things have been happening. I've been living in this house since 2000 now. My parents built it, so it's only 22 years old. I'm from Bavaria, Germany. About 1 month ago, while I was laying in bed at about midnight, I heard knocking coming from the hallway ceiling. It was a 2 times knocking, and there must have been pressure behind it because the ceiling made crackling sounds. A few days later, I was laying in my bed, almost falling asleep, and suddenly I hear a childlike voice whispering behind me in my back, "Stimmt, stimmt." It's German for right, all right, or I agree. I was scared as fuck and didn't dare to turn around. Last night I was woken up by a loud 3 times knocking. A few seconds later, the same 3 times knocking again, just a little bit more silent and gentle. At first, I was kind of in a half-sleep dream state and built some dream thoughts around it. But suddenly I realized that this knocking must have been above me, maybe in the attic, and I suddenly was 100% awake, scared, and I felt my heart going from resting mode in my sleep to pumping mode. I was laying there for about 10 minutes without moving. Then I was brave enough to look at my phone and see what time it was, 2:57 a.m. I couldn't sleep for 2 hours. I didn't hear anything more, though. All the knocks I heard so far cannot be wind or water pipes. They really do sound human. I Googled and searched Reddit. I hope it was not a sign that someone close to me will die soon. What could this be? Comment. 3 knocks are said to belong to demons or dark entities. With the 3 knocks, they make fun of the Holy Trinity. I don't know if you are a religious person or not. This is just something that I was told as a Catholic. Please take care of yourself and keep track of your physical and mental health. My recommendation, don't answer the knocking. So I got in contact with a local medium, and she doesn't want me to put genders or titles on whatever this is in my apartment, but it's getting creepier. The complex doesn't want to work with me. Luckily, there's no more things setting on fire or stuff like that, but as of the last week and a half, I was babysitting a very large pit bull mastiff mix who is my dog's best friend. Well, to be frank, I was using the potty, and my dog and kitten were, of course, in the bathroom with me, along with the dog I was babysitting. When I got out of the bathroom, all of the dog's toys in the toy box were out of said box and all over the living room. Now, during the time I was in the bathroom, this dog, who is fiercely protective over me, stood guard at the bathroom door. inside of the bathroom, and so did my dog, who was crying the entire time. The kitten was messing with shampoo bottles in the shower. I really can't explain the toys getting moved when each of the pets were with me the entire time. For about 3 weeks now, every single night, my kitten will basically get into hunting mode right in front of the fridge and meow for about 2 hours. He doesn't move, just stays there trying to hunt whatever is under the fridge. I've moved the fridge multiple times now, and there's nothing there. I've even had a friend help me tilt my fridge up so I can inspect the underside, and there's nothing there. But the kitten does this every night at the same time for literally 2 hours. It's like clockwork. As soon as it turns 2:15, he gives up and walks away. Something creepy happened with the fridge, though. I'll paint the picture. I'm sure everyone knows Garfield, the cat that likes lasagna. Well, my cat eats a ton. I mean, he's a fat baby. He will take your food and not care at all. And about 4 days ago, I was cooking with my buddy, and he's standing by the fridge, and of course the kitten is hunting the fridge at this time, and he's a good couple centimeters away from the bottom of it. He moved himself just a little closer so his front paws were underneath the fridge, and all of a sudden, he gets pulled under. I don't mean he waddled underneath. I mean, we both watched him get pulled to the point that his cat tummy wouldn't allow him to go any further. And since he started doing this right before I fall asleep, I'll hear knocking, which sounds like it's coming from the front door. I won't open it, of course, because if it was one of my friends, they'd just walk right in. Well, this morning I felt like I got shocked. I shot straight up, because just as this electric feeling came over me, I could hear this horrible crunching, like directly beside me. I was looking around, trying to blame the dog, or maybe even the cat, but it sounded like someone had a mouth full of rocks and was chewing them into nothing. It was gone as fast as it came. I want to blame it on my sleep problems, but considering I have a weird bruise where I first felt the electric feeling was enough to make me freak out. Honestly, it looks like a single finger stretching over the outside of my right thigh. I get weird handprint bruises a lot now, it seems. As soon as one fades, another shows up. Other than that, since the toy box thing, weird stuff like I'll get up from my couch and walk into the kitchen for a drink. My pets are my shadow. My kitten is always walking in between my legs, and my dog always has his nose pressed to the pit of my knee when I move. But I'll go back to the couch, and the drawers on the coffee table are open. Or just this morning, I literally just grabbed my bun maker off the breakfast bar, and as soon as I turned around, the 2 cloth red boxes I bought for the bottom level of my bookshelf were pulled out, and my birth certificate was laying on the floor, completely out of the little envelope I have for it. I had my back turned for maybe a second. Drawers keep opening and all of that. And this morning, when I was putting everything back up in its proper place, I heard that freaking voice again. This time it sounded like a grown man. Later edit. I forgot to mention the knocking right after I get into my apartment. Now, something knocks on the front door. The sliding glass door from the patio into my living room, and the sliding glass door that leads from the patio to my bedroom. What do I do? And how can I maybe protect my cat from getting pulled under the fridge again? Hello, little Vickies. Thanks so much for listening. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday by 5 p.m. Pacific. So if you like what you heard and you haven't subscribed already, please do. And hit the thumbs up button, as it's all very helpful to my growth here on YouTube. And if you have a suggestion or simply want to say hello, please leave a comment below. If you have a story of your own you'd like to share and possibly have read on the channel, send it to me at veronica45stories@gmail.com. Your stories are very helpful to the channel as well. Thanks again so much for being here. I appreciate it more than I could ever say. And until next time, be good.